So I'm Rafael Vargas-Suarez. I'm an artist in New York, and I am here participating in the art initiative of AUCA. I'll tell you a little bit about how I arrived at this project. I'm an avid traveler. I travel. Some people buy fancy clothes or they spend money on bad things. I spend my money on traveling, and I started traveling to Russia and Siberia in 2007, and I started traveling throughout Mongolia, Kamchatka, Baikal, Altai, and I kept hearing about Kyrgyzstan. So out of curiosity, last summer, as part of a very long trip, my last stop was Kyrgyzstan. So I was here for 1 month, and I made a couple of friends. Through those friends, they connected me to Aida Sulova in New York, and Aida said, "Oh, you have to meet Henry Meyerberg." And I met Henry, we started talking, and then Karen Davidoff said, "Oh, we're doing this project, and maybe we can talk about your work and this project." We started talking a lot. We started having a few meetings at their office in Manhattan. And next thing you know, we've had lots of meetings, and we decided that maybe it would be interesting for the project and interesting for me to be involved. So since December and January, we've been planning this trip, getting together with all these different artists. I was not really very familiar with any of the artists' works, so I've been learning about their work. And the more I learned, the more fascinated I was. So by, say, March or April, when the trip was starting, all the details were starting to be planned, I was very excited about coming. And now being here, seeing the building, talking with Henry about the building, meeting people here, meeting the staff, and even some of the artists or alumni of the university, I get a real sense of what it represents. So it's very interesting, and I think it's it's a very interesting cross-cultural project. So it's.
Tell us about your work, what you're going to do here, and the purpose of your work.
So my work is, I work in a variety of mediums, but overall I work with scientific data, scientific imagery, things related to astronomy, things related to science. So I'm really inspired by nature, but not just nature as in trees and water and animals, also space and other planets and stars and physics and mathematics, and so it's part of nature. So that being said, I came here with no idea of what to expect, how I could contribute, really just zero idea. And I normally approach things that way because I don't want to get confused or fixated on something that's maybe not possible. So coming here, I met Yuri Osenov, an artist from Tashkent, Uzbekistan, and the more I learned about his work, the more I realized that even though our work does not look the same aesthetically, we have very different styles, we have very similar concerns and similar interests for the work. So he's very interested in mathematics, he's very interested in science, and his use of materials is at a very, very advanced level. He works with textiles, he works with silk, he works with wood, he works with weavings, he works with master weavers in his country. And that is something that I'm really drawn to because I like this idea of this very complex geometry done by hand. So 2 days ago, I somehow mustered up the courage to ask him if him and I could maybe work together on developing an idea, developing a proposal that then we would present to AUCA. So he said yes, which I was very happy about. And we're now going to develop a proposal for the main wall here in the atrium, which is behind us. It's a very large wall. I work in a very large scale typically, and so does he. So fortunately, we're both not intimidated by the scale of the space, which is good, because it's, you know, it's not a normal size project. It's not a normal size wall. It's not a normal situation. We're dealing with very long distances. There's a language barrier. He speaks very little English. I speak very little Russian. So, but somehow, through art, we're communicating very clearly. It's because of the way he thinks and the way I think. We can work together.
What do you think about the architecture of this building?
I love it. It's a very, you know, when I met Henry, I immediately started learning a lot about the building, but there's a big difference between seeing lots of images and hearing somebody talk about it, whereas actually being here. So I've been learning about the building for months, and the purpose of the building and the history of the university. But now that I'm here, it's a completely different experience. I see this building as sort of like a lot of buildings put together as one space. There's so many different things that are going to be happening here. You know, there's a transparency in the building. You can see through the building. You don't have to second guess so much what's happening on another part of the building. So that transparency is interesting. Henry refers to it as an open space, and it's a specific type of thinking, not just as an architect, but also for a learning place, you know, a place of learning that not only are you learning something in your classroom, but you're also maybe learning about things that other people are doing in other spaces. So I think I've never done a project in this type of an environment. I've worked with public schools, I've worked with universities and museums and government, but this is because of the location and the type of thinking that Henry brings to the table. It's very unique, which I'm still learning a lot. So, you know, even I'm not a student here, but I'm learning here too. So that's very special.
You'd been with the other 2019 artists for past 3 days?
Yeah. Well, that was another challenge that, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, you know, artists are sometimes ego-driven, very individualistic, and when you make art, sometimes you need to be by yourself. You can't have outside interference and outside influence so much. So it's always a risk to put so many accomplished artists who are very professional, who each has a long history of exhibiting and working and being known for something, having an identity that's very solid. So when you put together a group of 19 people like this, there's a risk that there could be friction, there could be a lot of disagreements. So the past 3 days, I was very surprised how congenial everybody was, how open-minded, how much communication positive communication has been going on back and forth. And I think everybody realized early that this is not a competition. This is more about, we're all presented with a very unique opportunity. And everybody has been very professional and very kind in receiving this opportunity. So, all right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.